Oh, man.
Hey, old man on the Mat crew. This is Tony Jones coming at you with another great episode. Guys, I am stoked for this new year. I hope everyone's fired up for 2025. I heard a guy say 2025, you come alive and all that fun stuff. But I'm fired up, guys. A lot of stuff's going on. We have a lot of new things happening for the new year. And before I get started, guys, once again, thank you for all your support on all our platforms out there. I love all the feedback. Thank you for the purchase of the merch out there. Things are flying off the hook. You can find all the merch once again at www.oldmanonthemat.com, oldmanonthemat.com. But guys, I am stoked. I am fired up about our guest today. Guys, listen up. We have a big-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy on here, and I love talking to anyone in the martial arts field. I really do. From Taekwondo to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to sword play to everything. I just believe martial artists have a different I don't know, grind to them. Does that make sense? Okay, maybe it does. But anyway, guys, we have Bill Henry. He owns Bill Henry Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out there in Washington, Illinois. Bill, I appreciate you taking time to come on with us today. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Oh, man, that's good, man. I'm telling you, how's your 2025 going so far? It's been a couple days in.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I got back to regular classes after the holiday. Getting the guys ready. We got a tournament coming up in April that they're excited about. So just kind of putting my focus into those guys for now and just getting better myself step by step.
Nice. Now, do you find, because like you said, you got a tournament coming up here.
Yeah.
Do you find that the holiday season usually break guys out of their stride, or most guys just say, it's just another holiday. I'm diving in and grinding anyway?
It's probably 50-50. I got my hardcore guys. They make everything. They're here all the time. And then I have, some of the guys, they haven't got, I guess not everybody gets the bug. If you're involved in jiu-jitsu, you either get the bug or you don't get the bug. You'll keep training. But if you got the bug, you don't want to, every day you miss on the mat, you feel like you're falling behind everybody else. And not everybody has that. And as a coach, you have to kind of feel that out because you don't want to push people too hard. Some people are just here to get a workout in. Some people are here to, try to win gold medals. So you got to find that balance.
I get it. One thing I've noticed, I see, coming from the old school martial arts. I've been in martial arts since I was 8 years old, getting beat up south side of Chicago, the whole fun stuff, And we got in martial arts back then. It was all self-defense, but we literally had tournaments every weekend. So it was all about the tournaments, right?
Right.
So, and we see the same schools all the time. It was a small community. You go fight at this guy's school, that guy's school, but it was great. We didn't have a lot of hobbyists back then. I'm not saying that's bad. I think it's great because right now I'm a hobbyist right now.
Oh, absolutely. Me too.
Right? Do you see that you have more hobbyists in your gym now, or do you see more of that coming in? You know what I mean?
I see, definitely more hobbyists. What I'm seeing now is, the older crew, the guys, and I shouldn't even call them older because they're not even as old as I am, but, the guys in their 40s, late 30s, starting to look for something different, right? They were a competitive wrestler, or maybe they did Taekwondo or karate or something as a kid, and they want to get back into something new. And I get a lot of people just looking for friendship, I think. They're coming in and they're looking for that camaraderie. And people, it's locker room humor. If you've been on the mats with a group of guys and girls too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The jokes flow, everybody's having fun. And it's that kind of escape from reality for an hour and a half or whatever it will be, because you can't do anything but focus on what you're here to do, or it goes really south fast.
Exactly. And that's true. I tell you, out there now, and I look around and I love training. I really do. I've been on, like I said, been on the mat for all the years somewhere on different arts and stuff like that. And I do feel that like I miss it. But what's changed with me, and I don't know if you feel the same way, is when I train now, I'm more cautious because of my age. You know what I mean? Because I have injuries. I don't want to, old guys, we don't recoup as fast as we used to.
We have to definitely pick and choose who we train with. And I have a hard time with that. I'm not a big guy. I'm 165, 170 pounds. And, I'm in the corn-fed area of America, man. These guys are big. They come in, you know what I mean? And I try to, I always came up through because I trained with coaches who didn't train with their students. You know what I mean? I felt like I wanted to be the guy that would roll with anybody. But I really have to be careful now because these guys don't mean to hurt you, but they can hurt you. These big, strong guys. And like you said, recovery is so big. Like, it's not like I can do 3, 4, 5 hard training sessions in a week anymore. You know what I
Right.
mean? I can
Right.
roll every day, but I can't do like competition training every day anymore.
Oh no.
So it's finding that balance, and and as a coach too, sometimes we jump in and I teach a few techniques, and then the rolls start, and I just dive in. I don't warm up. I don't do any of that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm trying to get real better. Like I said, I got the bug. I see guys rolling, I
Yeah.
want to roll. So I
Yeah.
just jump in and say, "Oh, I'll just warm up as I go." And as I get older, that's not the best idea anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I get it, man. One of my buddies I love rolling with, and I was talking to him the other day, and I train. I'm usually I go to one of my buddies' gyms on Mondays usually. Then I'm at
Mm.
my main gym, Lake County Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, on Tuesday through Thursday. So that's
Uh,
4 days a week.
right.
And usually when I see a guy, young, old, whatever it is, my mindset is I'll roll with anybody. You know what I mean? You want to
Right.
roll? Okay, let's go. And my buddy says to me, I get off the mat one day and I come off to the side, just beat the crap. And somebody else said, "Hey, you want to roll?" I said, "Yeah, I'm starting to get up." And he grabbed me by my hand. He pulled me back down. He says, "You may want to sit this one out. You don't have to roll with everybody."
That's right. It's hard to say no though when you like doing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. But we pay that price later, man. We pay
Oh,
that price,
absolutely.
man.
Absolutely.
Now, how did your martial arts journey start? Because we're close to
Ooh.
the same age, about
Yeah.
36, right? You okay?
Yeah, 36 many years ago. No, I just
Yeah,
turned
right.
50, yeah, I just turned 51.
Hey,
So,
happy birthday, brother.
yeah, well, thank you. And I guess I started, early 2000s, 2001, somewhere around in that vicinity. I think 2001. Um,
Okay.
and like everybody else, I thought I wanted to fight. I thought I was a tough guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wasn't a
Yeah.
guy out getting in fights. I just thought I wanted to do it. So I started dabbling in jiu-jitsu and a little Muay Thai, and realized I really don't like getting punched. So I stuck with jiu-jitsu.
Okay, good
And
point.
back in that day, I drove an hour from Bloomington, Illinois to Champaign, Illinois,
Oh wow.
to train with a brown belt when I started.
Okay.
But that was the closest guy you could get. So I had an hour round trip, an hour each way. And we trained 2 days a week. You know what I mean? You got Tuesdays and Saturdays. Um, so fortunately, over time, I had some layoffs as a white belt. I was a white belt a long time, on and
All right.
off relationships, life gets in the
Yep.
way, whatever it'll be.
Yep.
And then I finally really committed. I hurt my neck in a seminar of all things. And then
Oh
I
wow.
took some time off. And when I went back, I said, all right, I'm going to go all in. And when I got back in, I think I was training again for 3 weeks, and I started competing. And
Yeah.
that year, I think I competed like 13 times.
Oh wow. You were
All
in it,
local,
man.
Indiana, Chicago. Back in the day, you could go
Yeah.
to Indianapolis or Chicago and find a tournament at least once a month,
Oh,
right?
easily.
And then I had a good coach who was a really good competitor, and he says, "Hey, compete." So we're competing, and then I did the Pan Ams my first time.
Okay.
Got shellacked. Went back the next year, did better. You know what I mean? And then I went to
Yeah.
Brazil a couple of times. This is as a white
Oh,
and blue
really?
belt. Yeah, I went to Brazil twice. Like I said, I was fortunate. I had a coach that was hardcore competitor, man, and he offered to take me along. So I went to Brazil in 06 and 07.
Okay.
Both times for like 8 to 10 days, and competed in what is now the Masters World Championships. It used to be called International Masters and Seniors. So
Wow.
you have to fly to Brazil, and we'd call it the World Championship for guys over 30. I
Okay.
got to compete in the famous Tijuca Tennis Club and
Oh,
Tijuca, Rio de Janeiro. I got to train at Gracie Humaida at the original academy.
oh, really?
I got classes taught by Hoyler and Holker. I'm on the mat. I have a picture in this. My first coach was affiliated with Megaton Diaz. So Megaton, if anyone knows who he is, he's a legend, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's the type of
Yeah.
guy people open doors for when he walks in a room.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Gotcha.
automatically, because you're with him, they gave you a lot of not necessarily respect. I was a white and a blue belt, so it's not like I was gaining respect from these guys, but they
Yeah.
treated me very fairly for a gringo. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And if you ever
Yeah.
went to Brazil, that definitely exists. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
no, you stand out, and they all want you. They want
Oh,
a piece of you
man.
because you're the American guy. But I'm in
Oh,
a
man.
room, and there's Omar Solemn and Hayes Labrie and Megaton Diaz and Hoyler Gracie. It's, and at that time, I didn't even realize what I was sitting in. You know what I mean? And now to look
Yeah.
back on it, I'm like, that's really cool. So I was lucky. I mean, and this is before cell phones and that stuff, man. When we wanted to call home while we were there, we went to the internet cafe. You know what
Oh,
I mean? Like
man.
it's old school, right? Um,
Right?
so as it progressed, and now I look back on a lot of the people that I got to train with and learn from, um, it's pretty impressive now to me. And I'm
Yeah.
thankful that I have some of those memories.
That's pretty unique. Now,
Yeah.
going over there you said you touched on it's a different mindset, different style over
Mhm.
there. What's the difference that you saw then when you went over
Uh,
there into what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is now in America?
the
You
one
see what I
thing,
mean?
yeah, I know exactly. The one thing I noticed that the Brazilian guys were doing back then, and I still believe they do really, really well and better than Americans now, is grip fight. Every grip
Okay.
matters. You don't let go till you know where you're going next. You let go before it's too late. I mean, we call it the blue belt grip of death. Someone
Okay.
holds
Yeah.
onto that grip and they're just
Forever.
not
Yeah.
letting go. They're getting smashed, but they have your arm, and that's all they care about. You
Right.
know,
Right.
um, so the Brazilians were a lot better about grip fighting. They spent more time grip fighting, um,
Okay.
and I also think the way they trained um, was a little more intense. I think that's changed now, as a lot of the high level Brazilian guys are now here in the States coaching, and I think that follows through. But that
Okay.
was the time, where if you were doing jujitsu, you weren't in it just to tell everyone you did jujitsu. There's a lot of
Oh.
people that do that. They train once a week. They just want to tell everyone they train, right?
Right. Right.
Back then, that wasn't the case. When you committed, you committed. And when they saw that you made the trip from America to come over and train in, the motherland, so to speak, and learn from the source, um, they gave you a little bit of respect. And I thought that was cool. I was fortunate as a white belt. I got to stay in the big room, as I called it, because during
Mm.
class, all the upper belts were in one room, the white belts were in the other. But because I
Okay.
traveled, they let me stay in the big room. Now, I took a beating for being in that big room because everyone was better than me.
Yeah.
But that was one thing, the way they trained. And the thing that I picked up my second year there, no, it was my first year there, was the amount of half guard that was being played over there. And we're
Really?
talking blue belts and stuff. We were seeing a little bit here, but I was even taught by my coach, half guard is you're halfway to getting past, right?
Okay.
So I
Okay.
mean, there's two schools of thought. If you're a top player, you're halfway to passing, right?
Right.
On the bottom, you're halfway to sweeping or submitting. So changing that mindset. So I came back and I'm playing half guard because I got beat by it. I said, I'm going to learn this, and I'm figuring it out. And this is very little YouTube videos. If you remember
Yeah.
back in the day, it's not like Instagram where you can scroll through and find any technique you want in 30
Anything. Oh
seconds.
yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
wasn't like that. So I just started learning and talking to some of the guys that were attempting to play it. And my coach said, I don't want you playing half guard. And he said his whole reason was, you're halfway to getting past. And whenever
Hmm.
someone told me not to do something or that it wouldn't work,
Yeah.
I kept to it. And, it's still it's probably the main focus of my game right now. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I
Okay.
play more of
Yeah.
it. I think I can keep myself safe there. I'm confident there. And when I'm on top in the half, my mindset switches. I know I'm going to pass. You know what I mean? In
Okay.
my head, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm halfway to passing your guard. I got this far. I'm going to keep going. So
Okay.
I think that's probably what I picked up the most. And then just the way the people are. They're going to beat you up, but they're friendly, man. It's a very different culture. You walk into a lot of American gyms and you get mean mugged up and down. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
like that there.
Oh yeah.
They're going to
Oh
hug
yeah.
you, shake your hand, and then beat you up. Where here, they're going to mean mug you and beat you up. So
Oh
um,
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
think there's a lot to be said in keeping that culture. Um, the Brazilian culture in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I think, is real important. And now you're seeing the big push, American Jiu-Jitsu and this and that, man. It's all Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They can call it whatever it wants,
Yeah.
whatever they want. But to me, man, somewhere along the line, you learn from a Brazilian guy. You know what I mean? Or someone who taught you learn from a Brazilian guy. Um,
Yeah.
and I think keeping more of that, it's still, we're definitely in a tough guy sport. There's no doubt about it.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
I think showing, a little grace to people as they come in the door and being happy and smiling that they're your student and that they're here goes a
Yeah.
long way. I don't have to be the alpha. Guys walk
Gotcha.
in the gym. I don't have to be the best guy on the mat. I just know more than you. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
As I get
Yeah.
older, I can't beat everybody, but I have more knowledge than you because I've been doing it longer. And I think
Right.
that's something that the Brazilians did really, really well. Is you can have a 70-year-old man teaching your class and he's full of knowledge. Yeah, you could probably submit him in 3 minutes, but he knows way more than you. So it's like going to school and learning from a college professor.
Do you think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has been watered down from the aggressive hardcore that where it started?
I'm torn with that. I think yes, to some degree, but I think only because of the person that's coming in the door to train. We
Okay.
are a customer service business. When you
Hmm.
own a school, you cater to what you have, right? So
Right.
I can't bring in a bunch of hobbyists and say, you have to go compete. And back in the day, it was more like that. Like, we're going to a tournament. This isn't,
Right,
a
right,
debate. Everybody's
right,
going, unless you're getting married or having a child on that day. We're going
right.
to the tournament as a team. And I don't think that exists anymore. And I think that's fine. I think the quality of jiu-jitsu is way better than what we had. Right.
Really? Okay, okay.
I think the innovation that's going on, a lot of schools have gone away from the self-defense aspect. It's funny because I'm just reading Robert Drysdale's new book, and he talks about the history and how Carlson Gracie started to change it from a self-defense art that the original Gracie family had and into this competition style jiu-jitsu. And I think that's what we're seeing now. We are a sport as well as a martial art, right?
Gotcha.
And people can say whatever they want. We can learn self-defense and we can break grips standing up and pretend to take knives and guns from people. But let's be realistic. That's not going to happen, right? But I'm pretty confident in my 24 years of jiu-jitsu, my sport jiu-jitsu would do just fine if I get in a confrontation on the street.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Am I going to jump down to 50-50? Probably not. But if I get on top of you, you're not getting up. You know what I mean? So I think, and you look at the guys that are here teaching in America now. Before we had a couple of the Gracies and guys sporadic. This is way back in the day. And now, I mean, you got Cobrinha, the Mendes brothers, Andre Galvao. I mean, the best of the best teaching that next generation. You know what I mean? Look at what AOJ has done with the Mendes brothers and their kids program. They took kids literally 6, 7, 8 years old when they started. They're world champions in the adult division now. You know what I mean? They're not spending a lot of time, doing double throat grab against a wall, right? But these kids will mess you up if they get the chance.
Exactly.
Right? So, I mean, I think so watered down in the sense that there's more people involved. And whenever you put more people into it, you're skewed, right? So you still have the top of the top that might be higher, but your lowest of the low is lower. So
gotcha.
I think the median, the people in the middle, I think it's all the same of what was going on back then. I just think our instruction's better and taking a little bit of science and putting behind it too. As an old school strength and conditioning guy, you don't just go in and do things. You got to have a reason. And I think training has become that now too, where we're thinking about, how to improve in the shortest amount of time with putting science and technique behind it.
Okay, I like that. That makes a lot of sense. It really does. I look at just from looking at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now, I think it's made the transition that back in the 80s when karate was everything. It was hardcore self-defense karate. It was hardcore. And then it made the transition to taekwondo, right? So taekwondo comes along. And so now taekwondo is the blueprint for schools now, in essence. How to make money, how to be a profitable business, things like that. So everybody's doing taekwondo. And I've seen Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu go from that hardcore, everybody's tough and kill, to now they're doing the taekwondo aspect, meaning not the watered down version, but the everyone's doing it now. It's more of a business now. It's very popular now. And does it make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, jiu-jitsu popularity, and I think it's still growing. I don't think we're even remotely close to where it's going. And I think the innovation that's happening just continues to grow. And I think as much flack as they get, the IBJJF is doing a very good job as they, start to alter rules when they see problems and trying to make it more exciting and making it more like a real fight again versus, two guys staring each other in the eyes, holding on to each other's foot. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's a place for that. Don't get me wrong. I love watching that, people, 50-50 gets a bad rap. I love watching the 50-50. There's so much technique involved in it. I guess to the untrained eye, it looks very boring. But the guys who know jiu-jitsu and you're watching them fight for grips and it's, small movements to get something big at the end. I really enjoy that. Now, everyone else, then you get the guys who be like, oh, don't pull guard, just take them down, which is great, and there's different players. But when we look at jiu-jitsu as a whole, the guard is what sets us apart from everybody else. Right. Okay. So why wouldn't we invest a lot of time in it? When you look at other martial arts, I always tell people, I said, the thing that sets jiu-jitsu apart is we'll fight off our back. Right.
That's
Judo
true.
Wrestling, you get put on your back, you lose.
Exactly.
We get put on our back, we keep fighting. And I think that's a trend that people will see. So, the innovation comes to where trying to find more things from the bottom. And that's where some of those stalemates come into play. Because if you put me in a position I don't know, I might just hold on. right? I don't
Okay.
want to get
Okay.
submitted, right?
Right.
So until I take the time and expand my knowledge and learn that position, I'm really just defending. I'm not
Okay.
able to play the position with you. So I think that's the evolution that's coming is everybody's getting good everywhere. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
No-gi
Yeah.
grappling is taking footlocks to a new level, right?
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Yeah.
so, now everybody has to be aware of it. When I started and you weren't even taught that stuff to you, were like a brown belt,
Yeah.
So you
Exactly. Yeah.
become a brown belt and people are throwing knee bars at you. You've never defended one before.
Gotcha.
So here at high school, we start teaching them as soon as they come in. You know what
Really?
I
Do
mean?
you? Okay.
Yeah. Straight ankle locks and knee bars I allow. Toe holds with, some of the guys. I play catch and release a lot. So I put it on them and I let them go and we just keep
Right.
going. Um,
Yeah.
and with them, I just tell them, we're going to do the same thing. You put it on, you see it's there. You can't do it in a tournament, so don't train yourself to do it now.
There you
Right.
go.
But we
Yeah. I
want
like
to
that.
have the knowledge of when it's time, we're ready for it. So,
Okay, that makes sense. I see a lot of the everything's. I won't say everything, but for a lot of things I'm seeing now is leg locks, leg locks,
yep.
leg locks. And yeah, I see what you mean too. It can be boring when doing quotation marks over here.
Right.
Watching that because you want that excitement level. Like when CGI had theirs. Was it Craig Jones International did
Yep.
their tournament? That was did you like that tournament? Did you think that was pretty cool the way they did it? Or
I like the idea of it. I hate
yeah,
the pit. That's just me. I don't like the
okay,
walls. That's not my thing. And to be honest with you, with both of them being on, I watched more ADCC. I think
okay,
more so for the matchups. And I just I like the tradition of ADCC
yeah,
and the way that there's that honor and respect with winning. I felt like Craig Jones threw a party and let guys do jujitsu. And no knock
yeah,
to him, it was great. People loved it.
yeah,
People made a lot of money. I think that's the evolution of the sport. But the
yeah.
pit and the guys jumping off the wall and doing that sort of thing, everyone, as much as they're saying, oh, it's for safety's sake, the match gets to continue. I think it's a recipe for disaster. One of those guys is going to jump off the wall, throw a flying triangle, and get spiked on his head. You
Yeah,
know what I
I can
mean?
see
That's
that.
the
I
thing
can
that I
see
see
that.
coming for that, and it makes me a little nervous.
Gotcha.
But that's just me. Maybe it's the
Yeah.
old guy in me saying,
You
I
know
like
what?
the tradition. You know what I mean? Maybe
I
it's
can't
just
argue
me.
with you there. I can't argue because I watched that and thought a lot of the same things. I'm thinking, oh, I
Yeah.
could never do that. Oh, that looks like it would be painful. However, it was very, watching the Tolo brother,
Oh yeah.
watching those guys, that was so exciting just to see that. And I think that's what's drawn a lot more other people to the sport to watch it. You know what I mean? To get involved
Oh,
in it, because seeing that excitement
absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah, you need something, and that's obviously I think what he was going for. I mean, everyone wants to make it mainstream.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to make money off it, and you see it time and time again. That's why blue belts have social media and have sponsors and stuff. Back in my day, you were a blue belt, they just laughed at you. You know what I mean?
Is
You
that
got
all
to go
you
win a
got?
world championship to get a free gi. And it's great for
Right.
them. More power to them because the opportunity is there now, and guys are able to train full time, and they're only going to get better faster.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm hating on the new generation.
Oh
It's
no.
different for me, you know.
Oh
But I
yeah.
think those tournaments like CGI and stuff. I'm interested to see what he does this time because they're doing the team format. I
Yeah. I'm
think
wondering what that's going to be like.
he's still trying to find himself and really what he wants to be in this competition landscape.
Yeah.
But I'm a traditionalist. I like guys going out of bounds and then getting restarted. I think that's half the fun. I love watching two guys argue over that position and that one grip that they had that they fought so hard for that the
Yeah.
ref didn't see, and he's not giving it up. He's like, no, and the other guy knows that he had the grip, but won't let him have it. You know what I mean? I
Exactly.
find that entertaining. You know what I mean? To me, I'm like, that's two guys that want to win, and it
Yeah.
shows the amount of importance for those little moves. People look at
Yeah.
jujitsu as this grand thing, but there's so many little steps to get from point A to point B.
Yes.
And I guess the longer I train, the more I appreciate that, and the more I learn from watching those little exchanges.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's that you're experiencing there too. You're seeing the chess match go. You're seeing
Right.
that chess match happen.
Yep.
Everyone else just seeing this big flailing around, but you're like, oh, I see the pawn over there. I see.
Well,
That's
and
pretty
that's,
cool.
the new style is take a lot of chances. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're throwing it out
Yeah.
there and they're diving and rolling. And, the Tackett Rotolo match. You know
Oh
what I mean?
man.
Those guys were all over the place.
Oh
But
my gosh.
if I had two guys doing that in my gym, I'd be like, you guys need to calm down. You know what I
Right,
mean? You're not hurt
right,
somebody. You know what I
right.
mean? So how many, and as we get older and we're training and we train with the young guys and they pull some stuff off,
Oh,
but how long can you train like that?
you
You know what I
can't.
mean? How long can you even compete like that? You know what I mean? At that breakneck pace before stuff starts to give. So,
Man.
I at their age, I mean, they're looking at making money. You know what I
Oh
mean? They're
yeah. Oh
competing, they're
yeah.
looking for prestige, so they're laying it out there. But as an older guy who's looking at it long term and been in it a long time, I mean, it makes me nervous before we have one of those major injuries happen. You know what
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean?
because you've seen a lot, so you know
Yeah, and
what
that's
can
not
happen.
to
Yeah.
yeah, excuse my language. I'm not trying to pussify
No.
jujitsu by any stretch of the
No. No. Not at
imagination,
all.
but
No.
I mean, I think there's something said, and I tell my guys every time we train before we go, it's like keep yourself safe, keep your training partner safe. You pick him up,
Ah.
you're responsible for putting him down. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
good.
And
I like
things like
that.
that. You know what I mean? It's like we're a team, we're partners, right? And even when you're competing, it's competition, but yeah, I'm gonna try to extend your arm, but I'm banking on you being smart enough to tap, right?
Right. Right.
So
Yes.
when we start flailing and rolling, and as a guy with a bad neck, that's all I see.
Yep.
It's like, man, you're gonna regret that when you're 40. You know,
Right.
but you look at it from their point of view. You look at what Gordon Ryan just said about steroids and things like that. He's like, I don't care if I lose 20 years off my life. I want to be known as the best.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
that's
I've
one
heard that.
mindset, man. Tell me when you're 50 if you still really think that way and you start looking at the other
Exactly.
side. When you start
Ex-
looking at the other side and life's not that much, I've lived longer than I'm going to live, if you think about that,
right.
right?
Right.
So you start looking at things differently. And for me, at 51, I just want to keep training. I want to do this as long as I can,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah.
So I'm
Oh
thinking of
yeah.
ways to keep myself safe. Now, I want to go out and I want to bang heads and I want to train hard too, but I got to
Yeah.
do it in a safe manner. But
Right.
I think this younger generation, man, they're nuts. They lay it
They
out there, and you're going to see a lot of bad guys with bad necks, bad knees, and bad ankles when they get
Well,
older.
you know what? Let's back up. Let's back up. How did we get to this point with all these bad knees and bad ankles, right? Doing all
Right,
that crazy stuff back then.
right, exactly. But see, my role is is to tell them like, hey, there's a better way. And I
There you
think
go.
that's
Yep.
important. And that's the way it's all about control. And I think when you're flopping and flailing and diving on stuff, the control
Yep.
goes out the window,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
once your athleticism leaves you, and it does, I don't care who you are, your
Yeah.
athleticism does diminish. Now what do you got? You know what I
Right.
mean? Look
Right.
at Jordan. Jordan had to develop a jump shot. He couldn't dunk on everyone
Yeah.
anymore.
That's
His,
right.
his athleticism started to come down, so he had to find a new way. And I think jujitsu is the same. So the earlier you can start to set those habits, I think the better off you are.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, man. Because I, like yourself, I roll with some of these young guys, and I'm a talker when I roll. I don't know about you.
Oh,
I
me
talk
too.
to guys. I like talking like, oh, that ain't gonna work. You might want to try this. And I tell these guys all the time, you need to slow down, calm
Yep.
down. We got
Yep.
4 more minutes of this. Calm down.
Right. Well, yeah. So you've seen it. The new guy comes in first day. He's like, I'm not feeling so good. He starts to get a
Uh-huh.
little pale, and I'm like, yeah, you got it. Breathing. People forget about breathing.
You forget
Go
about
back to
breathing.
Hickson and all his breath work and stuff. And it's coming back now with the cold plunge and all that stuff and controlling your
Yeah.
breathing. I think it's really, really important. But when you're training, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was a strength and conditioning performance coach for years, and
Oh,
one
really?
thing I
Okay.
always taught when we did sprint work, right, is
Yeah.
controlling your breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, because everybody shallow breathes, right? So we're breathing out, we're sprinting. And it's like, right? And then
Right.
when you stop, you're hungry for air. So you take this big, deep breath, usually through your mouth, it bypasses your lungs, go right to your stomach. That's when you start
Oh,
getting gassy and you start to throw up. And
wow.
if
Okay.
you can control your breathing, you can go a lot further. And you don't get that nauseous feeling at the end.
Okay. That's really good to know. How long
It,
did you do the strength and conditioning?
15 plus years probably.
Oh, man. Okay.
It was kind of my second job, I guess, right out of college. I worked as just a regular personal trainer. I was a phys ed major in college, and then
Okay.
I got involved. That's what got me to Illinois. I grew up in New Hampshire, and I got offered a job in Illinois with someone that I knew to be like an assistant director of a performance enhancement program where we taught like sprint mechanics and did strength and conditioning and stuff for athletes of all ages.
Yeah.
With a group called For Pure Acceleration. So we had this treadmill that went 0 to 29 miles an hour and 0 to 40% elevation. So we had all these
Holy
workouts
cow.
designed where we did high speed, high elevation sprint work. So
Wow.
that's where the breath work, I started to teach people how to breathe, right? Because now we can
Okay.
go longer. I don't want everyone with their head in a trash can. Anyone can make someone tired, right? It's not a
Right.
hard thing to do. Making them work hard, but be able to finish the workout's the most important thing. So,
Okay.
breathing and obviously recovery and things off the mat come into play too. Like,
Yeah.
the kid that walked in eating a McDonald's cheeseburger was going to have a long day,
Oh
you know?
yeah.
But
Oh
you see
yeah.
it all the time. You see guys do it. They come in, they got that huge Starbucks. They slug that right before class. They think they're getting a caffeine rush. Instead, they're getting a bunch of sugar. And you know what I mean? And
That
that stuff
short
just
burst.
sloshing around in their stomach. So,
Oh
mm,
man.
yeah,
Now, at I hate saying it at your age, like you're an old fart,
that's all right.
Jace. Now, how do you warm up now before you be on
Oh,
the mat? Before you're going to train for the day, and it's not just a teaching day, but if you're going to train,
um,
what do you guys do? Do you have a whole warm up session you guys go through, or
my guys get here and they stretch right on their own. They get themselves ready. I'm usually teaching kids class, so they have the other mat and they're stretching and stuff.
okay,
I have them do some quick jujitsu specific stuff. I mean, some bridges, some leg circles, a few shrimps, maybe some leg triangles, and then we start into technique. For me personally, I have a short mobility routine I go to.
okay,
Just to make sure I got a little bit of a sweat going and, my hips and stuff are loose. That's my big thing. Hips and hamstrings are really tight, so I have to make sure I'm ready to go.
okay,
Sometimes I just pick an easy round and go
oh,
light.
okay,
So, I mean, it just depends on the day. Like today, it's cold here.
yeah,
I'll warm up well before I start. But if it's 95 degrees outside and I'm already hot, I just go at it. But
okay,
that's not a recommendation for most people. It's just how my body operates.
gotcha. Gotcha. Now, is your gym where you guys, like you said, you do the stretching, everything, so you don't have a
Hmm.
regular, okay, we got 10 minutes of calisthenics and then we're going to
No,
do this
no.
for that? Okay.
I keep my classes at an hour. My warm up's
Okay.
short. I spend, a half hour on technique, and then we do rounds every day. Whether it'll
Okay.
be, and I say rounds, it could be just set the timer and
Yeah.
partner up.
Yep.
Other days we play king of the mat, where I put a couple
Okay.
guys down in the closed guard, and
Yeah.
I put my upper belt guys down, and then I keep just feeding people, and we'll do that
Yeah.
for 30, 45 minutes. Sometimes we do it from half guard, collar, sleeve, depending on what we're playing. Um,
Okay.
but always doing something live, because I think trial and error is the best way to learn. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You've got
Okay.
to learn that sense of your body and space to be able to get good at jujitsu. And you can't do
Yeah.
that just doing a technique. And
Gotcha.
I don't know, you can probably watch in, the room when you're doing technique too. Guys do it 2 or 3 times and then they're just sitting on the side bullshitting. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not really
Yep.
doing anything. So I don't want to waste people's time. I'm going to show it to you. I'm giving you the opportunity to drill it. If you choose not to, okay,
Yep.
we're going to move on to the next thing. And I usually teach 3, 4, sometimes 5 things
Okay.
in a class, but it's all sequenced together, right? So it's
Okay. That's
just
going to be my
building
next
off
question.
in
Yeah.
something else. So
Okay.
in my nogi class last night, we did inverted armbar, from closed guard that transitioned to like the gift wrap to the
Yep.
flower sweep to a back take, right? So I
Gotcha.
taught 4 or 5 things, but it feels like one big long move by the time we're done. And the guys keep getting reps. So they don't want to just keep repping the inverted armbar, but they
Right.
have to do the next technique, right? So we're building on it. It's all about building systems, right? I always
Right.
tell people we don't play a guard. When you say, what guard do you play? I play a bunch of them. It's a system, I might start in half guard, but then I might be in shin shield. Then I might go to closed guard. I might go to butterfly, and transitions all the way around. I'm not trying to hold people in one position. Jiu-jitsu is fluid and you have to move with it.
Okay.
And as you do that, you start building a system. So I think teaching should be the same way. I tell my guys, if you find a submission, be a dog with a bone, right? We're not holding that same submission, but we're going to flow through different ones until we finally finish them, right?
Okay.
So it might
Okay.
be armbar to triangle to omoplata, back to triangle, back to armbar. You know what I mean? So there's 5 things in a row that can happen in less than 15 seconds, right?
Yeah.
But you got to
Yeah.
be in that mentality. The same when I'm going for a sweep. I can't just have one sweep, right? I need to
Right.
have plan B when they do something else. And I think when you start building jiu-jitsu as a system, and it can be your own, it doesn't have to be my system, but you start putting things together, that's when you start to really develop. And I try to do that as early as I can with my guys, right? So I
Okay.
run these 6-week beginner programs where I bring them in and we go through basis, the basics, teach them all the things they need to know.
Mhm.
Obviously, they don't have them all down by any stretch of the imagination, but they've seen them all before. then
Right.
I can
Okay.
regurgitate stuff and start getting a little deeper into it and start building. But
Okay.
it's like come into class and just teach one side control escape, right?
Yeah.
You can't just
Yeah.
teach one, you got to teach multiple because one might not work every time.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
everything I do kind of builds off in the first thing I teach for the day.
Okay. That makes sense. So you don't have what you may do. I'm saying, do you have like set techniques that your go-to, or do you just follow whatever's given you?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
It depends on the day. Some
Okay.
days I come in and I'm hunting certain things. Like I have a couple things, for this year that I'm working on. So when I train here in a little bit, that I'm just going to look for those positions. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And except the fact I might, one of my blue belts might mount me. One of my blue belts might get side control on me, right? But that's
Right.
good. I got to work bad spots anyway, and I don't do that voluntarily. I'm not one of those guys
Right.
who say, "Hey, every big guy in the room, mount me. I want to just try to escape for an hour."
Yeah.
I don't
Those
do
are fun
jitsu for
days.
that reason. I do it because I like to train. So
Yeah.
I'm confident I can get out if that situation arises, but I'm not going to spend an hour doing it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Gotcha.
Um,
Gotcha.
so, you come out and you try new things. And other days I come in and I'm like, okay, I'm going to play points today in my head. Right.
Okay.
And the guy I'm going with doesn't know that. They might at the end of the round. But when we
Oh, okay.
start, I'm coming and I might play my competition game. My competition games are way different than what I do on a daily basis.
Okay.
I go very basic, very old school when I go compete. And then,
Okay.
sometimes you got to get into the newer stuff as, the match, rolls through. But generally, I'm going to go to what I've been doing since I was a white belt when I compete. I
Okay.
like my close guard, my loop chokes, cross collar chokes, arm bars, play a lot of half guard. Now in here, when I'm training with my guys, I'm going to play open, collar sleeve, spider guard, a lot of butterfly guard, a little bit of everything just so my game's well rounded.
Okay. That's smart. Yeah. That's smart. Now, how big is your school?
Not very big. I've only been open since September of 2023. I'm sitting right around 40 students.
Okay.
So,
That's really good though.
a
Yeah.
small group of kids and then a large group of adults. Now, getting them all to show up on the same day is always a challenge, but
Trust me, I know.
yeah, it's been good. I'm at the point where I have 10, 12 guys every night, sometimes more than that. So,
Yeah.
and I'm happy. And I got some guys that only want to do gi, only want to do no gi, um, which is fine. So that limits the days they come. And for me,
Yeah.
I tell them all to train both. It's all jujitsu. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you're wearing. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
get good at both. Have a good, well-rounded game. Be ready for anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Now, what made you decide you wanted to start your own dojo? Or
Uh, well, I've taught since I was a blue belt. I had my
Okay.
first school in Bloomington, Illinois, in the back of a fitness center that I was working at. I bought some rollout mats and started teaching class. And then I've
Okay.
just taught ever since. Um, and then with this academy in particular, this is the first time I've done it full time. This is my
Okay.
full time gig. Um, my wife and I were living in Illinois, and we moved back to my hometown where I grew up in New Hampshire. Bought a business, and we did that for 6 years. Decided it really wasn't a good work-life balance for us, so we moved back. And
Okay.
when we brought up that discussion, when my wife asked me, if I'd be willing to sell the business and move back, because obviously we were in my hometown at the time,
Right.
I said, yeah. I said, but I have a lot of experience and I have a skill set, but it's not the type of stuff that gets me a job. And I said, I'm not going to go work for $15, $16 an hour for somebody else.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
she said, open a school. And I didn't look back. I just dove right in and, found a place. I rented a place basically from across the country, showed up and then saw what it was, had a lot of work, renovated the place. And now I'm doing it full time. I already got to expand once.
Wow.
And the students come slowly, but they're coming, and that's the big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations, man. Because I tell you
Thanks.
that I commend you, because owning a school ain't easy.
No,
I've done it for years.
it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of days you want to quit, man. It's a lot like jujitsu, man. There's days you get in your car and you're driving home, and you're like, I suck. I don't want to do this anymore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that was me. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know about you. Jiu-jitsu makes people cry. Not everyone will admit it. I've cried over jiu-jitsu. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah.
When you have those rough
Absolutely.
days, man. Um, I had one not too long ago. It was a few years ago. I was in Texas training with my coach, and he brought in. It was like a 2-day camp, like seminar thing, and I'm getting ready to get my second stripe on my black belt. I think I'm hot shit, right? And he
Right.
brought these guys in, and they've been black belts longer than I've been training jiu-jitsu, and I got beat up for 2 days straight, and
Oh.
I rolled with this guy named Denton Pimenta. And Pimenta was he stood on the podium at the World Championships with next to Rafael Mendez and those guys.
Oh man.
He's the real deal, man. Like 9-time Masters World Champion.
Wow.
And I'm trying, bear in mind, and I'm 6-year black belt, and I'm trying. He submitted me 7 times in 4.5 minutes.
Oh man!
I got off the mat, and when that happens to you, you think everybody's watching, right?
Everybody's watching you. Cameras
and
on
nobody
you.
cares, right? Nobody saw it. So I'm sitting on the sideline, and I got my belt around my neck. I'm ready to go put the thing in the trash. I'm like, I'm done. I said, I will never be at that level. And then I watched him do it to everyone else, and I didn't feel so bad.
Then you're like, okay, I feel good.
I'm like, okay, I'm just one of many. So a funny story about Pimenta is my coach asked him, he's like, Pimenta, what do I do to get as good as you? And he looked him dead in the eye and said, you'll never be as good as me. He's like, I've been doing this. But, like to his, and what his point was I've been doing this since I was like 6 or 7, 8 years old. Right. Yeah. And this is all I've ever done. All I've done is compete and train jiu-jitsu, and came up in a time where you couldn't do it half speed. You had to be all in, right?
Yes,
or you didn't last.
Yes.
And it's just reality. How do you close the gap? Me and you come in, and I've been training 10 years longer than you. And then from that point on, we train the same amount every day.
Yeah.
You will never close that 10-year gap.
Ever,
you know what I mean?
Ever.
You will get better, but I'm going to continue to get better too.
Yep.
The rounds might look different, but it's hard to close that gap. And I think that's really important for people to understand. And that's where, like we talked about earlier, being older and teaching, you might be able to submit me. You might be able to mount me, but I know way more than you. And I have this knowledge that I'm willing to pass on to you. I mean, everyone wishes you could take 20 years of experience, put it in a box, and hand it to somebody, but it doesn't work that way. Jiu-jitsu is a folktale, man. It's passed down from generation to generation, and the story might change a little bit in the middle, but the outcome's always the same.
Wow. That's pretty cool, man. You ever thought, I'm not trying to blow sunshine or anything, but you ever thought about writing a book?
No, I wrote a little bit. I did some blogs back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I guess I don't have that confidence about myself to feel like anyone really cares what I got to say. I'm just
with that mindset, that's usually the guys that really need to be writing stuff. You know what I mean? When you don't think you deserve it, that's usually the time you deserve it. Yeah.
I always just tell people the only thing that sets me apart from others that walk in the doors to train is I've just been doing it longer than you. You know what I mean? That's all it is. It's just like a guy who welds. The guy that's welded for 20 years is going to be way better than the guy that just started.
Exactly.
It's the same mentality. We're in a trade now. If you think about it, what we're teaching is this is a full-time job, and you have to go to school to learn it. You know what I mean? You can't just say, I like jiu-jitsu, I'm going to open a school. Not anymore. It's not going to happen. You've got to have some credentials, and you've got to have the knowledge to back it up.
Yeah. That's true. Okay. Kudos to you, my friend. I like it. But let's change the subject just a little bit, because I know, like you told me before, I saw some of your in some of the things you were sending me. You had a major emergency surgery back in 2015, right?
Yeah. So I was living in Illinois at the time, but I flew back to New Hampshire to visit my mom. My dad had passed a little bit before that. So we just went back, family vacation, helped my mom around the house and stuff. And while we were there, me and my mom both like to drink a little bit. So we had a few drinks, and I ate pizza, and I just kind of felt like a slug when we got back. So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go out in the yard, swing the kettlebell. It was a nice, beautiful, like 85-degree day. I'm going to go do a workout. So I'm swinging the kettlebell, and I feel like a pull in my stomach. And I thought, I pulled an ab. Okay, whatever. So I stop working out, and I go in the house, and I'm kind of sore. And I tell my wife, I said, I think I pulled an ab, and being a wife, and I love her to death, but she's like, real cute. You hurt yourself. You know what I mean? Like, so being a guy, I just shoved my mouth, and I said, I'm not going to bring it up. It hurts, but I'm okay. So over the course of the next 2 days, I got really sick and really sore. So I think that was Saturday. So Sunday, it's 90 degrees outside in Illinois, and I got sweatpants and a hoodie with the hood up, and I'm shivering. And I'm like, man, I just got sick from traveling. I'm just run down. My stomach hurt. I said, this ab really sucks. So that night I couldn't sleep. Monday morning, my wife finds me, and I'm on all fours on my living room floor so my stomach can hang down because it hurt so bad. So I said, I'm going to go to the hospital. And she's like, I'll take you. I said, you don't got to take off from work. I'm fine. I'll just drive up there, see what they got to say. And she's like, no, I'm going with you. So I get to the emergency room. They ask me what my pain level is. I said, well, it's about an 8. So bring me in, and they have the doctor come in. And the first thing he did is look at me, and they gave me some pain meds. And then he took 2 fingers and kind of spread them out like a V on my stomach. And he took his other hand and he poked me. Oh. And I sat right up and I told him, you're never going to do that again. I was mad. That hurt. And he's like, oh, you have appendicitis. I said, wow. Okay. He's like, we're going to have to take your appendix out. He's like, let me get the surgeon down here. So the surgeon walks in and he goes to do the same thing. And I said, you don't need to do that. And I'm not going to let you do that because I hurt so bad. I said, so what's the next step? He's like, wow, it's definitely appendicitis. He's like, we're just going to take you in tonight. You'll have surgery and you'll be good to go. I said, all right. So I remember about 5 o'clock that night, them putting the oxygen mask on me and stuff, wheeling me in the room and me looking up, and they got all the people in the mask, like in a movie, looking up.
Yeah.
All these people around me, and I fell asleep. I woke up, and I remember kind of waking up and feeling really odd and being in a hospital room, and I could hear my father-in-law and my wife talking, and all I heard them say was it wasn't appendicitis, and I passed back out. Wow. I woke up the next morning, and I had tubes coming out of every hole in my body, and I was not happy. I had no idea what was going on. They had me on morphine or whatever, and I don't handle that stuff well. And I started cursing and screaming, and nurses and doctors started running, and finally someone come in and explained to me what happened, and my small intestine ruptured. So I was septic for almost 48 hours, and that's what was making me sick. So they went in to do the appendectomy and found I was leaking into my own body. So they did this surgery, took out a foot of my intestine, put it back together, and they put me in the hospital bed. Because I was septic, they couldn't close the wound completely. So I had 2 inches above my belly button, 2 inches below it, still open. And then they just stapled around my belly button, and they had a wound vac on me, and I had a tube going up my nose and into my stomach, sucking the septus out, essentially. Yeah. So I sat there, watched this black stuff come out of my body. I was in the hospital 11 days. I couldn't eat or drink anything. They wouldn't give me anything because I had to get all this out of me. No ice tips, no nothing. And so I lost like 25 pounds.
In 11 days.
Yeah. I mean, I got to walk a lap around the desk in the hallway type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But otherwise I sat in the bed. I had to have people help me get up, go to the bathroom, the whole 9 yards. And I remember like day 4 or 5, the surgeon come in, and he was a good dude. He was this little short sawed off guy. And he came in, and I looked him dead in the eye. And at this point, I'm pretty angry. I'm sick of being there. I don't want to be there. And I said to him, when the hell are you sending me home? And he perked right up, stuck his little chest out and his shoulders back and looked at me. And he says, you don't know how sick you are. And that's when it clicked. He explained to me, being septic, you have about 72 hours. And I was at 48 when I went to the hospital. So it was like one of those things where luckily I went and didn't tough it out any longer. And to be honest with you, I don't think I could have. I was in such rough shape.
Wow.
But they finally released me on day 11. I was on like a soft food diet. I ended up with a blood clot in my arm while I was in there. So I was on a blood thinner. So it was like 5 months off the mat. And at that point, I had it scheduled to go get my black belt when I got sick. So we postponed that, obviously. And so shortly after, I flew to Texas and got promoted to black belt. And a year to the day from when I was released from the hospital, I fought my first black belt tournament in the Chicago Open.
Oh, man.
I got my ass handed to me, but I went out and fought. I told my wife when I was sick, because you have a lot of time to talk to people in the hospital. Yeah. And I told her I was going back to jiu-jitsu when I got better. And she thought I was nuts. Obviously, all she could think of was like neon belly, people mounted.
Oh, yeah.
How it's not going to go well. And I told her, I quit a lot of things in my life over the years, and this is something I'm not giving up. You know what I mean? Wow. Yeah. I was going to get to my black belt. What happened after black belt, I wasn't sure, but I knew I was going to get that far. So I just kind of put my head down, slowly went back to training, and worked my way back to where I am now.
Holy cow. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out. I wish I wouldn't have had to gone through it. But I think it did a lot for me. It definitely changes your perspective on a lot of stuff. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You realize what's important and what's not. And, all the things you sit there and you think about, all the things that you started and never finished. And that's what really brought me to, I'm going to finish this jiu-jitsu thing. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
when we moved to New Hampshire and bought my business, it was like a 2-year stretch where I think I trained like only 2 or 3 times. Because here I am, I'm
Really?
black belt. I'm going into new schools. You know what I mean? And everyone thinks you're a
Yeah.
black belt and you're invincible, man. No, everyone comes at you. You got a big bullseye in your back. So
Oh,
you have to go
absolutely.
in
Yeah.
ready to fight every day. And you don't always, I don't like training like that every day. I do
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
because it's fun. I like to bang heads, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I don't want to train like that every day. And I wasn't in shape, so I had to pick and choose. And I finally found a nice little school right in my hometown. My buddy Serge was running, and I ended up going there just to train. And I got my
Yeah.
son involved just to train. And then next thing I know, I'm teaching 6, 7 classes a week. And it's
Yep.
evolved to, man, I have a group of students, I'm promoting people. But it was good. It was what I needed to get me back to where I wanted to be in it, and make it fun
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So then I started teaching and I just kept going.
Oh man.
Mhm.
You know what? I love stories like that, man,
Yeah.
because I have to believe that, your history in martial arts and your training from the condition training and strength and conditioning training and all that stuff helped you during that process of, healing again,
Oh,
going through all that.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just having a basic idea of muscle physiology and anatomy goes
Yeah.
a long way in getting yourself back to where you want to be. You understand what the muscle does and why it does it. You can
Yeah.
think about your own rehab a lot easier. You know what I mean? And bear in mind,
Oh
when they
yeah.
released me from the hospital, I had a traveling nurse for 2 days. Came and taught my wife how to handle my wounds and stuff. I had no rehab, no nothing. They're like, here you go.
Really? Just there you
So,
go.
yeah, I went for months, weeks going back to them removing one staple at a time. You know what I mean? To get
Wow.
it. But, my wife's the one that took it on the chin. She's the one, when I'm at home, I had 2-inch long, I think it was an inch wide and an inch and a half deep gash above and below my belly button that
Yeah.
needed to be packed every day, needed to be changed
Ugh.
every day. And I couldn't
Ugh.
do that. I went a month and couldn't even look at my stomach. I kept it covered. Like I
Oh
couldn't bring
man.
myself to look at it. So right down to not even be able to take real showers and stuff, but every day. And my wife's a person with not a super strong stomach and that stuff, and she sucked it up and did it until
Man.
it got to the point where I didn't have to pack them anymore. But that was a long road itself. So
Wow.
yeah.
Oh man.
So God
That's
bless
pretty
her. She's done a lot for me.
man.
We've been together a long time, and she's been through. She was with me when I was a white belt. She's seen it all. We were dating, way back in my white belt days. Now we've been married
Really?
15 years and been together for like 18. So
Hey, awesome, man. That's pretty
yep,
cool, man. Now,
yeah.
does she train also or no?
Oh no, 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 no. My wife, God bless her. She is not athletic in any way, shape, or form, and has no desire to be. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's her thing. But the funny thing is, I met her at an MMA fight.
Did you
And
really?
it's a story. Yeah. So I have a friend, Billy Stamp, and we used to train together for a while when after I got hurt, before I went back to training jujitsu again. I was
Yeah.
hacking around at this MMA gym doing, the Muay Thai thing and, nogi, bastardized version of jujitsu back in the day. And I met this guy, Billy Stamp. We became really good friends, and he was a professional fighter. So he didn't have a lot of support. So I was the guy that went and taped his hands, and we would travel. I was single at the time. So he's like, I got to fight in Wisconsin. I said, let's go. And I would take off for the weekend, go to Wisconsin. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And corner him in bars and wherever else we were, right?
Yeah.
So there was actually a fight right here close to my school in Peoria, Illinois, that I went to him with, and my wife was there with his wife. So we met and we went out for drinks afterwards, and we've been together pretty much ever since.
Oh
So
man.
I guess, jiu-jitsu works in weird ways.
Right?
But, I never thought I'd meet, my wife's 10 years younger than me. I
Okay.
never went into it thinking I was going to date someone 10 years younger than me, let alone marry someone 10 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So, world works in a weird way, but it works out good
That's
for
right.
me.
There you go. Everything happens for a reason, my brother. I
That's
tell
right.
you. That's pretty cool, man. So she's seen you from A to Z. No wonder
Yep.
she's still in your corner, man. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool,
I
man.
wonder why some days, but she's still there.
I always wonder about women are kind of slow. I say that in that.
Yeah.
No, don't let her hear me say that. No.
Hey, you said it, not me. I'm safe.
That's right. You're safe, right? Oh man. Now you said you have a son. So does he train also or?
Yep. He's 13. His name's Forrest. He he's been training about 3.5 years. This year in September will be 4 years for him. He's a 4-stripe yellow belt.
Okay.
Getting ready to do his first tournament in April. He came to
Oh, man.
me, and I didn't think, my son's not like really aggressive and competitive, or wasn't. Now he's starting to learn that. I moved him up from my kids class and made him go in my adult class.
Yeah.
So he loses almost every round, unfortunately for him, but it's teaching him
That's
a
okay.
lot.
Yeah.
And he's only 99 pounds. He's a string bean, man, but he
Man.
goes out there and he bangs heads with the guys. And it's good for my adults to learn how to train with somebody, because they
Yes.
know if they hurt my son, I'm coming after him. I tell them that all the time. That's the joke.
There
I'm
you
like,
go.
you hurt him, I'm hurting you.
There you
But,
go.
obviously accidents happen and stuff, but they're learning. My guys that have been with me a while are
Yeah.
learning how you can flow and train with someone a lot smaller than you that you can manhandle and still get better. And I tell
Okay.
guys that. I said,
Okay.
you need to learn that before you can even be a blue belt, I think. I think you have to learn how to roll with people that aren't as good as you, that are smaller and weaker than you.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
now you have to use technique. You can still submit people, but you shouldn't have to rip their head off their shoulders to put them in a chair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think once you learn that, your jiu-jitsu really starts to take off. So for him, he's getting to flow through positions that he hasn't learned yet a lot of times. And
Okay.
also getting to feel the size and strength of people bigger than him.
Oh, yeah.
But he's pumped up. He's ready to do his first tournament. So
Man.
we're going to go down there. I'm going to take a pretty good sized group of guys. We'll probably have 10 or 12 guys go down, some kids too, and I'll spend the day coaching.
Oh, that's pretty cool, man. Running from mat to mat.
Yeah, it's hectic. I got one young guy, a guy just promoted to blue belt. He's 22 years old, and he's a machine. He trains as much as he can. And the first tournament I took him to, he joined 4 divisions. It was a Fuji tournament. So he did D, nogi, and both absolutes. And they're literally calling him to fight on one mat while he is fighting on another. You know what I mean?
Man.
So here we are. We're running. He was one of the first matches of the day, and we were literally the last match of the day. But
man.
he fought like 11 times his first tournament, and he kept going back. So he's done really, really well, and had a good year. He actually came through Fuji. He was the number 3 ranked nogi beginner in the country last year, doing 5 tournaments. Yeah. So it was pretty cool to see him, and I'm excited to see him. His name's Tim. I just gave him his blue belt, and I'm excited to see what he does at the next level. You know what I mean?
That's cool, man. Yeah.
I think,
was he with you from beginning?
Yeah. So he was in the very first class I taught here.
Okay.
And I told the joke when I promoted him. I'm like, he came into my first class and I haven't been able to get rid of him. He just shows up. So when he first started training, he was in community college. He's in nursing school now, but he was in community college, and he had a lot of free time. He came to 2 classes a day. So right out of the gate, he was training 8 to 10 classes a week.
Oh,
so,
man.
And a lot of them were just me and him. So after time, he just became my training, right? So I would show him stuff. And because he's only 150 pounds, I had no choice but to teach him how to beat big guys. So now he's still beating big guys.
That's cool, man.
So, but it shows like you put the time in and you listen, you know what I mean? And you can get better. And I think a lot of people hear you, but they don't listen. If you really listen to what your coach is telling you, it makes a big difference.
I wonder why. It's weird that way.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he sticks around, because at the blue belt, they have the blue belt curse happens, they say.
Oh, absolutely. I talk to them about it all the time. I said, and this is when life happens. You've been training a while. When you start, you have a lot of free time, right? Usually. That's why you found the hobby, and now life gets in the way. I got another guy. The other guy promoted to blue belt, Taylor. He's getting ready to have his first child in February.
Oh, life's in there. Yep, life starts.
And he's nervous. He's going to be a first-time dad. But like I tell him, and he's worried he won't get to train as much. And I said, dude, you'll find a way. Trust me. There's ways to do it. Will you get to train as much as you want? Maybe not. But you'll be able to keep training. Trust me. I said, there's a balance there. And I said, you want to keep that balance.
There you go.
It's a work-life balance, right? You can't just work and go home. You need something else. And that's something even as I get older, I work towards, having that balance. It's the reason my classes and stuff are scheduled the way they are. People think I'm crazy. I start my last class of the evening at 5:30. I'm home. I got a 15-minute drive home. I'm home by 7 o'clock every day.
Oh, that's perfect.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't do classes on the weekend. I'll do special events. We'll do seminars or do an open mat occasionally. But I need my time for my family. And I have people like, oh, you should do a class at 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. I said, why? So I can come over here and two of you guys show up, maybe? I said, that's my
Exactly.
time. There's got to be this balance. I'm a
Yeah.
one-man show. I teach all my classes. People are like,
Oh
oh, have
man.
people teach your classes. I said, my name's on the door.
There
I
you
want
go.
to be my product, It's literally says my Bill Henry Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is on every window of this building. You know what I
There you
mean?
go.
So when
Yeah.
they walk through the door, I should be the person that's teaching their class. And
That's
I'll do that
awesome,
for as
man.
long as I can, until my
Okay.
body says I can't anymore.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm?
Man, I love it, man. You are in there. I love it, man. Your story and what you're doing, man. That's pretty cool, man. You're
Well,
giving
thank
so
you.
much back to the mindset. You're giving so much back to your students and to the martial arts community. You really are, man.
Man, I'm
Man.
trying, and you watch in my area, we have a lot of schools in the area and a lot of other black belts that, I came up through with. A lot of us started with the same group, right?
Yeah.
And we all went our different ways and come back. But, we have 5 or 6 schools and everyone's a different mentality. And I just try to be my own thing, man. I say I'm Switzerland. I don't get involved in politics. I try to train. If you want to train, I'll train with you.
Yeah.
But, in my area, in my gym, like just recently, I stopped taking drop-ins at my gym.
Oh, really?
Just weird vibe. I've had a lot of cool ones, man. And I got a couple guys that have come through that are always welcome back. I got a guy from California, a guy from Alabama. Those guys come through, they're always welcome here. But I had a weird scenario with a guy just not too long ago, and he trains at another gym. So I said, hey, you told your coaches you were coming here. He's like, yeah. I said, all right, because I don't want no ruffled feathers.
Exactly.
And he's a blue belt, middle-aged guy, 40s. Seemed really nice. And he came in, and at first I'm watching him, and he tells me of this slew of injuries he's got. And that's fine. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We can't do this. We can't do that. Okay. Then I watched him, and he's, teaching my guys stuff.
Mm.
And I watch from a distance, and this happens a lot, and I don't always say anything. And I just kind of watch, and I'm like, okay, knowing he's wrong, right?
Right,
Some of the stuff he's saying, but he's a blue belt. He thinks he knows, and that's fine. I was one once too. And then so he'd been coming for a couple weeks, just dropping in, still training in his other gym. So it was a Friday, and I had a small class. And I said, all right, man. I said, I'll roll with you. He's like, okay. So we're going, and he starts by saying, I got a bad head, bad neck, shoulder sore. You can't do any of this. So I'm flowing with the guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm not letting him get anything, but I'm flowing with him. And right out of the gate, he comes at me pretty hard. I said, okay, blue belt, I get it. Trying to prove a point. So he tells me I can't touch his neck. So I mount him. I can't choke him. I can't do any of this stuff. So finally he stands up, and I catch him in like single leg X, and I dump him, and I snatched a straight ankle lock, right? I put it on fast. I didn't finish it, right? I was on his calf. I didn't even put it. And he freaked out. And this guy looks at me, and he's like, you need to calm down.
Whoa.
And I had everything in my power not to lose my shit, because that's my mentality, right?
Right.
And I looked at him, and he's like, oh, he said something about you're going to hurt somebody or something like that. And I rolled my eyes. And he's like, well, you're dismissing me getting hurt. So now we're into this new generation, right? Like I'm not abiding by your feelings. And I said, listen, you can't come into a gym, tell everyone they can't do stuff to you, but you're going to do it back to them. And I said, first of all, I've been training 23 years. I said, I've never hurt anybody training. I said, I didn't even have that lock on you. I said, you panic tapped. And he went on and on, didn't want to train anymore. I gave him his drop-in feedback. I said, there's the door, go about your way. And he proceeded to send a message to one of my students that he knew and told him to be safe, because I was going to hurt him.
Gosh.
So I said, right then, I'm just not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to deal with this crap.
Oh my God.
So, it's one bad apple ruins the batch, but
yeah.
With that said, I get a guy that contacts me and I know their coach. And I know about them. They're more than welcome to train with me. But, Joe Schmo off the street just walking in, not contacting me first, I don't do that anymore. I stopped doing that. Now, with that said, I'm taking a group of guys in 2 weeks. We're going to do another gym to cross train. We're going in there. So I have no problem training with other people. But in my house and as my business, I want it to be my guys. So
I get it. I get it. I get it 100%. When you go into someone else's gym, you got to have a mindset of etiquette. You know what I mean? Proper etiquette and understanding what's happening. You're not there to try to be the big shot. You're there to train. You're there to learn.
And I tried to explain to this guy, I said, you realize a straight ankle lock, I can't even do permanent damage to you if I want, right?
It's gonna strain
you see these guys snap baseball bats and stuff. The body doesn't work like that. I mean, you watch guys eat straight ankle locks all the time, right? And I'm on his calf. And he's like, well, I got a calf injury. I said, how do I know you got a calf injury, right? I said, you told me I couldn't touch anything on your upper body, so I'm going to attack your leg, right? You're a blue belt. You should be able to get out of this move, right? So, but we all panic, and I get it. It was a panic. Yeah. But when he told me that I need to calm down.
Oh, my gosh.
I had to take a deep breath on that one. And I said, all right. Because instinct is to just light him up, but
exactly.
That gets
you're
nobody
bigger man
anywhere.
than most.
I thought we could use it as an educational thing, but he chose to take it the other direction. I said, that's fine too,
Wow. Yeah. Wow. No, sir. Yeah. But what you need around the gym, man. I'm just talking anyway. Right. A couple mat enforcers around there. That's what you need.
Yeah. And I got a couple, but funny. I try to, I don't even like doing that to people when they come in. I always want someone to have a good experience.
I get it. Yeah.
But, sometimes it is what it is. We're doing jiu-jitsu. Like, we're in the hurt business. That's what we do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're trying to say, because damn well, if that dude got a chance to jump on my leg, he was going to jump on my leg, right?
He was going to take that leg and take it home with him.
That's the way it is. As soon as your belt changes color, it's not white anymore, you got to realize that things change a little bit. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And it's not people being mean to other people, but hey, we're getting you ready for what's coming next. Because if you're a blue belt and you're like, I think I got this figured out, wait till you get your purple belt. Because then all life changes. Like, everyone below you wants to take you out, and everyone above you knows you're a threat. So every round is survival. You get so good at purple belt. That was my favorite belt. Like, I was there probably longest than any belt other than white belt. But man, I learned so much, and my game evolved so much.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was fortunate. I was training under Hobson Moore at the time. And obviously, who Hobson is. He's an innovator.
Yeah.
And the stuff he was showing and stuff I didn't think my body would ever be able to do, inverting and things like that. I didn't do a lot of that stuff until I got to be a purple belt. You know what I mean? And I'm starting to get upside down. I'm like, oh, my neck can't handle that and that. And he kind of changed my perspective. The other thing he did was, when we talk about being in shape, right? Yeah. Like, being overweight in jiu-jitsu don't really work. I mean, they do, right? But you're holding back your potential, right? So I had a good friend that Hobson promoted to black belt and actually made him wait to get his black belt. He was a phenomenal brown belt. There was no question about his ability. Yeah. But Hobson wanted him to get in better shape first.
Really?
And it was a clue to me, like, that makes sense, right? He's a representative. And my buddy was one of his first American black belts, probably one of the first 10 that Hobson promoted here in the United States. So he wanted these guys to be legit, and the guys before him were legit. So he wanted him to look the part as well. And I think if you asked him today, he would thank him for it, because he's still training. He's not with Hobson anymore, but he's doing his own thing, got his own gym. And but I think that's a mindset you should have. Like, we're a representation of this, right? It's a martial art. When you walk in the door, if the dude's gi doesn't tie, right? You can't tie his belt because he's too big. Like, man, it's like hiring a fat personal trainer. You want to get good point. Why are you going to the guy who's sitting on the sideline drinking a Coke and eating a Big Mac, right? Yeah. So look the part, be the part. You know what I mean? Have some respect for the art and for, the people that did it before you. I get it. We get older and staying in shape is a lot harder. Yeah. But if you want to keep training, you have to. You know what I mean? You have to stay in shape, and you have to take care of your body. So I think it all goes hand in hand. And I think that goes back to, like, the respect and the tradition of the martial art. Respect the art. You put a black belt on, or a brown belt, purple belt, you put your time in, be proud of that and carry yourself in that manner, right down to the way you look and the way you act towards people.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. But that's true, though. That is true. You look at it and you think about it. You're absolutely right, though. You're absolutely right. You got to be in great shape to defend yourself, too, I would think.
Yeah, and that's not to say that a guy can't be heavy set. Like, some people are just naturally heavy set. I'm not saying you can't be heavy set and be good at jiu-jitsu and be a good example. But if you started at 180 pounds and now you're 230, that's on you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there's a reason for that, and you can stop that. You know what I mean? Right. An ultra heavyweight, if you start as an ultra heavyweight, you're probably going to be an ultra heavyweight most of your life. And that's not to say you don't have good jiu-jitsu, but you're an in-shape ultra heavyweight. And there's a difference between that and an out-of-shape ultra heavyweight. And that goes for hobbyists too, in my opinion. I think you have to, if you kind of take on that jiu-jitsu lifestyle, because it is a lot of health and fitness, you know what I mean? I think it betters your life. And that's where we talk about jiu-jitsu can do so much for you, but you have to take what it's given you and apply it in other places.
Okay. Okay. Absolutely. This is what I was telling you earlier. Once again, I think you should write a book. No joke, man. I think because, you know, everybody's mindset or everybody's personality is going to blend to somebody out there in a book somewhere, man. I think yours would really roll out there pretty well, man.
Well, thank
That's
you.
good stuff, man. Now, you know, give me give me some advice you would have for, let's say, you know, a brand new guy, and I'm going to go from our aspect, a brand new older guy, never touched martial arts before, walking in your gym. What do you think they should do? What kind of advice you would give them first?
First thing I tell them is work at their own pace, right? Because you're going to look across the room and you're going to see the blue belt that's 25 years old. You know what I mean? And he's got a motor for days. Realistically, you're not going to be there for a while. Or at least having a motor even. Usually you're going to be huffing and puffing. Next thing I tell you is take care of yourself off the mat. Make sure you're eating well. Make sure you're drinking lots of water. Quit smoking. You know, I have a couple guys that train with me that smoke. They finish class, they go outside and fire up a heater. You know what I mean? That's their deal. And that's fine. But you can't come to me, you know, during that and say, oh, man, I just need to get in shape. Well, there's solution number one. And I was a former smoker back in the day. I wasn't a saint, you know, but I know it's hard to quit, but you have to make that effort, right? It's just like eating good. You know, don't hit the drive-through before you come to class. You know, make a decision in that. And then the other thing is listen to your body. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everyone wants to do too much too soon. So I do these beginner programs and they can only train 3 days a week. You know, so your 6 weeks is up, you put in 3 days. After that, you can come as much as you want, right?
Gotcha.
But let's keep you consistent. I want you on the mat all 3 days. If you dive right into 5, by week 3, you're probably making 1 if you're lucky.
Yeah, you're burned out.
You know what I mean? Something as simple as jamming a finger holds people out. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. And you know, over time, a jammed finger is just a jammed finger. We tape it and we keep training.
Keep going. Yep.
And getting that mentality in, you know, what's that saying? Embrace the suck. Because that's what jiu-jitsu is when you start. You know what I mean? You're going to get beat up. You're going to lose, right? And being able to accept that and finding little victories and losses is the most important thing. You know, that cheesy saying, you don't lose, you learn in jiu-jitsu. It's really true. You know what I mean? I wish there was a cooler way to say it, but, you know, there was you know, everything that happens to you, you got to realize that there was a reason for it. And how do we fix that reason?
Okay. Gotcha.
Keep yourself healthy and just keep showing up, man. Like, you can't do it half speed. If you want to be good at it and you really want to learn it, you got to commit and make it a lifestyle.
Make it a lifestyle. Yeah. Yeah. All right, brother. I'll tell you, this has been awesome, man. I'll tell you, you should see my notepad down here. I take notes on everybody, man. And I got a page and a half sitting here. This is really good. Awesome. So I'm gonna steal a lot of your stuff and put it on a t-shirt. So
absolutely. Do your thing, man.
Oh man. But hey, brother, before we get you out of here, man, you know, tell us where we can find you. Give us all your contact information, your social media, your platform, everywhere they can find you, man.
All right. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, it's just Bill Henry Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then on Instagram, it's B Henry BJJ. Those are my main social media things. My school's located in Washington, Illinois. You can find me at BillHenryBJJ.com. So any of your information, anyone have any questions, if they listen to this and, you know, want to bend my ear about anything, feel free to reach out. I'm always willing to talk jiu-jitsu. I enjoy it.
That's awesome, man. Brother, I appreciate you. That's good stuff, guys.
Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, man, you're a great guest on here today, and I hope we can do a part 2, you know, after you beat everybody up in your upcoming tournament. We'll talk more about it down the road.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. Anytime you want to have me back on, I had a good time.
All right, brother. I appreciate you more than you know, man, and we will definitely catch you later, my friend.
All right. Sounds good. Right. Thanks again.
Take care, brother. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, man.